Welcome back to part two of our conversation with the team from Oxford Quantum Circuits. In the first episode, we explored what quantum computing actually is and why OQC is so unique and why OQC has chosen Japan as their first entity outside the UK. By the way, joining me today is Gerald, the CEO of OQC, and Atsushi, who is leading OQC's expansion in Japan. And Gerald is joining in UK and Atsushi is in Japan. So this is a very global setting here. And today we are continuing the conversation. We'll dig into what it's like to work with investors like UTEC and what the future of quantum might look like. So let's start. My first question to Gerald. So you have worked with many investors before, and you are now also working with many VCs like us. And what's your experience on working with Japanese VC like us, UTEC?
Thank you, Lenny, and it's great to be back for this conversation. Just maybe as a reminder for your listeners, I'm Gerald, I'm the CEO of Oxford Quantum Circuits. We're a globally leading quantum computing company. We have operations now in the UK, in Japan that we'll talk through, and also we're expanding later this year to New York City. We were the first quantum computing company commercially available here in the UK. We're now the largest quantum computing company in the UK, and we're the first in the world to deploy quantum directly into commercial data centers. And we're serving customers mainly in financial services, but also in security and defense and other sectors. In terms of our experience working with UTEC upfront, it's been great. I think for us, what's unique about UTEC is how deeply embedded you are, not just in terms of the funding ecosystem in Japan, but also the kind of broader infrastructure to build and scale deep tech, both in Japan and also globally. With most investors, you'll get capital and perhaps some introductions. I think with UTEC, what we got was a thought partner in addition, one that understands not just the nuances of Japan and how we actually work in Japan, but also held us to a really high standard, a global standard for our performance. And that's probably what really stood out to me. Your unrelenting focus on the performance of what we're attempting to achieve with our technology. And you dive deep into that technology to understand it, not just the promises of it, but also its real world application. I think that's been a differentiator for us. Overall, I think you've pushed us in terms of the data that we provide, technical truth that we have, and the real world impact. And I think it's that kind of combination of your understanding of the Japanese landscape, your understanding of the deep tech landscape, not just in Japan, but more generally, and then how much you're focused on ensuring we have the globally best standard of tech performance. And I think that's been unique, and we've loved the experience so far.
Thank you so much for the kind words. And of course, we are honored to be working with you, a talented team like you, and also working with such a world-class scientist, OQC. Okay, Gerald, so my next question is something more personal. And I know that you have a variety of experiences before. You have career in consulting, you have worked in government, and now you are leading international company. And I would like to ask you, what are those challenges and how do you navigate this unique journey in your career?
Yeah, thank you, Lenny. My path started, as you mentioned, in technology and also in strategy consulting, firstly with Accenture and then later with PwC. And this was really about how to help companies across mainly financial services, but also pharma and governments solve the kinds of problems that kind of sit at that intersection between technology operations and their broader business strategy. I was really focused in Accenture on how best to kind of align digital tools, enterprise IT, and strategic thinking so that we could solve important business challenges. And that could be anything from updating and upgrading legacy systems in banks to clinical trial inefficiencies in pharmaceuticals, or how you would support more so the citizen in terms of their engagement with government services. All of that has a really important digital element to it. And that was really the focus from an Accenture point of view. I think that experience gave me a real front row seat on the limitations also in terms of our approaches to compute and what they can offer. And from there, I moved into government and spent nearly a decade, so 8 years, working in the Prime Minister's office in the UK government. And that was mainly shaping and then delivering and working with the areas of national security internationally. Technology has a huge impact on that overall, and quantum is now a really important national security priority for many governments, in addition to being a really important business priority for corporations. And I think for the journey into quantum was kind of the convergence of all of that. It brings the kind of the strategy side of an emerging sector about where this will end up and the different business models that we can approach. It is deep, deep technology, more generally, that has a profound impact on certain use cases that we've talked through for businesses. And being able to bring both of those worlds together, given the close ties that quantum has to governments today, has been a unique experience for me. And I feel very privileged now to be in OQC and as one of the world leading quantum companies today. And I think that we're accelerating our growth, we're expanding really fast internationally. Technology is in a great place overall, and we're excited about what the next few years will bring.
It sounds like everything you have done in the past are now like beautifully connected and now it's working together. So maybe expected something like this will happen when you were in
No,
the past.
I really didn't. I think when I was, thinking about my next steps when I was in government,
Okay.
I was really thinking about the next 10 years. What was the next decade going to look
Mm,
like? And I think overall, it was really identifying sectors or a sector in this case that really could have a huge impact. I think I'm driven
mm,
more generally by the purpose, the broader purpose of what we do and the impact that we have. And that was the point of kind of joining government in the first instance, but also
mm,
the huge potential of quantum has a real kind of purposeful impact. It's very meaningful in terms of the work itself. And I think
mm,
the looking at different sectors, it was clear to me that quantum was at a start, at a point where there was a wave coming. That was clear. And I think now where I'm in the sector, you can really feel it. You can feel the momentum that's building around
mm.
quantum. We aren't far away from large scale commercial impact. And it's an exciting journey, and I'm proud to be involved with it and contribute a small amount to it.
And Atsushi, so also have it seems you have also have very such a extensive career. You've been working at a trading company and also at the tech company and all in different roles from technical role to sales role. And now you're leading Japan headquarter and Asia Pacific in for OQC. Have you imagined that your career path would be like this?
When I was actually a university student, like most of the Japanese non-tech university students, I was not really
Mhm.
a good student.
Oh, really?
I didn't study much, but I was immersed in the so-called arbaito in Japan.
Oh, okay.
So I went to more arbeit than to the school, right? And then
Hmm.
at that time, actually, I was actually involved in one of the startup experiences, meaning that one of the rental record store that I was working at started a company, and then I joined as a founder, or not really the founder, but as a member of the startup. When I was actually graduating from school, I was kind of weighing in whether to continue this arbaito thing or to look for more decent company experiences. Then I actually decided to join Itochu Corporation, which actually was a very good choice for me to get to know the world of the business. After actually spending 12 years at Itochu, including my 5+ years in Hong Kong, I was actually looking for something new. And then that's when I actually moved to the Silicon Valley to join IT world in a more sort of a immersion way. So, but mostly I stayed on the business side, but it was actually very good learning for me as the technology or the industry itself is growing in
Mm,
its unique way. So I spent, maybe like 7 years with Sun Microsystems and then SGI and then, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, mostly on the hardware companies, but also I had a little, time with AMD in Japan. All those are very sort of fulfilling experiences for me
mm, mm,
to really witness and experience the growth of the industry itself. And then when I got this quantum computing company, OQC, in my
Mm.
side, I really thought this is actually a good opportunity for me, A, to go back to the startup situation, which I actually kind of, miss from my university days. And also sort of a next big thing, as I think, or as Gerald just said, next 10 years or decades going to be the new era with this new technology. So that's why I actually joined this one. But none of those stories as I didn't expect when I was at the university student. But yeah, just follow, catch your interest is
Mm.
the way I ended up here.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing. For the next question, I would like to talk about the road ahead for OQC. And so, Gerald, what are you most excited about for the next few years and the long-term vision? So, what would you see is going to happen in the next few years and also like in the next 5 or 6 years? What do you envision?
So I think the kind of excitement now over the next few years is we're right on the verge of quantum moving past the capabilities of classical compute. And we move from the era which has been a bit more exploratory, experimental into real commercial value for our customers. And that is really exciting. Now, as I mentioned before, it is in certain specific use cases, in certain specific sectors. This isn't broad-based advantage just yet, but
Mm.
that possibility of actually providing tangible value for our customers and it being a real commercial market, we're right on the edge of that now. So it's really important for us to, A, kind of keep going with our tech development and the progress that we are making day on day, month on month, and year on year. And then secondarily, to kind of prepare for that commercial inflection point that's coming in the market. And what I mean by that second point is today there are barriers in terms of usability and accessibility of quantum. You have to be very skilled to be able to program directly a quantum computer and on that basis be able to explore quantum. We're doing a lot of work to lower the barriers of usability today. So in other words, a typical data scientist that works in a bank or a pharmaceutical company or any of the kind of core sectors of the Japanese economy or more generally is able to actually use quantum but does not need to be an expert in quantum. And that's a drive for us to kind of build an AI native platform to use the power of AI agents that are emerging so that you can lower the barrier to expertise. And on that basis, that is to speed adoption more generally. I think the second big push, in addition to our core tech development that I mentioned earlier, is on accessibility. And this is again to prepare for a world whereby corporates want to be able to access quantum as they do classical compute. And they access classical compute within their own digital infrastructures, within their own ecosystems, and that's within their own commercial or co-location data center environments. And that's a key one that you have low latency, high security, ease of access, ease of integration with other types of compute. As I mentioned before, we're the first company in the world to deploy quantum computers into commercial data centers. We've partnered with Equinix, and we've got our quantum computer in TY11 right in the center of Tokyo in Japan. And that's really preparing for that kind of commercial world that's coming, whereby corporates won't be able to send sensitive data to a lab environment where a quantum computer exists. They'll have to be able to utilize it within their own digital infrastructures, within commercial data center environments. And we've
Mm.
proven it's possible to do that. So there are kind of two pushes on usability and accessibility to drive adoption as the technology then moves into this inflection point so that real commercial value can actually be accessed and adopted. And that's kind of a key focus for us over the next 2 to 3 years. In addition, I think our longer
Mm.
term vision is huge. We
Wow.
will be and we will want to be, have quantum computers in every nation, in every country, in every data center
Wow.
around the world. And I think, for us, this is all about building the infrastructure for the next era of compute. And that's where,
Mm.
when you hit trillions of quantum operations, what we mentioned before, you're really looking at transformational impacts on society. You're looking at whole new categories of economic value. And you have quantum computers available for you within your data center, within your nation state, within your sovereign location. And I think that's what we're planning for, and that's what we're building at the moment.
I know we've been talking about the first useful applications, but let's talk about something more even crazier. So let's imagine in maybe 2040 or beyond. What's like one crazy cool thing that you think quantum computing will have made possible? So yeah, what's your favorite one?
I think one of the ones that is truly exciting, we don't,
Mm,
as yet know where this will end up, is the relationship between quantum and robotics.
mm.
And as robotics is something that over the next kind of 10, 15 years is going to be a really, really important focus from a lot of the kind of classical computing tech companies. That relationship between quantum and robotics is at its early stage now, but who knows where that ends up in the future. And I think that the power of quantum to underpin other fundamental technologies such as AI, such as robotics, I think that's the transformational aspect. We have to think of
Wow.
quantum as being an underpinning for other types of technology, but also integrated with those technologies. It isn't something siloed and separate. It will be something that powers a huge amount of already exciting technologies to take them to a whole new level. So I would choose robotics and AI as being two of the areas where quantum will have a profound impact on. Now, what that could do, I mean, who knows? Where does
Wow.
robotics end up in the future for us? And I think that's the true potential of it. I think the other side is biology, and particularly the relationship between quantum and synthetic biology and what's occurring in those sectors in addition. But I think for me, the when you look out to 2040 or 2045 and where quantum could be at that stage and the impacts that it has, it's exciting, definitely. And I think we have a lot of work to do to get there, but we're really focused on being the company that produces that longer term future.
So how about Atsushi? What's your view?
Okay, maybe as a consumer or maybe just an individual, I really would like to experience the teleportation or maybe virtually replicate a
Yes.
remote environment through the simulations around me. And just, I used to do scuba diving and, we
Okay.
go under the water like a 30-meter below the surface of the water. And that's, surreal experiences, it's totally different. And I would like to experience things like, being at the North Pole or in the eye of the typhoon in the air, or look at the world through the eye of an ant, or those kind of things. I really like to have those experiences, which
Very exciting.
could be enabled by quantum. I don't know how or I don't know if, but yeah, that's something I really like.
Okay, so thank you so much, Gerald and Atsushi, for joining us today. We know quantum can be tough to wrap your head around, but I think this conversation really helped break it down to us. So before we go, do you have any final messages for our listeners, Gerald?
Yeah, I think probably one in terms of your listeners, I think if you're not involved in quantum today, or now you want to learn more about the sector or what OQC does, please do reach out to us. We love engaging with people who might be in different types of corporates today. From a business point of view, they may be kind of trying to understand the impact of quantum. We do have quantum computers in the center of Tokyo. This is something that we can also provide a tour to and for people to be able to see and to understand and experience. And I think once you see the quantum computer, it has quite an impact on you in terms of how real this is today and how soon this is coming. So my biggest ask to the audience is, if you're interested in this, if you've enjoyed listening to what we've said, please do reach out. Let's have a discussion about where quantum is today, where it's going to go into the future, and maybe how OQC can help you.
Great. And anything to add, Atsushi?
No, not really, but I
Okay.
actually like working in this startup environment, and then this is really exciting. And
Mm-hmm.
if any of the listeners are actually interested in kind of going into the startup world, this is something really I can help. And then I'd love to actually expand my network with the like-minded people who might be interested in this startup situation.
Okay, thank you. So that's it for today's episode. A big thank you to Gerald and Atsushi from OQC for joining us. It was great to hear about the exciting work they're doing in quantum computing, both in UK and here in Japan. Thanks for listening and see you next time.